Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to SNB Talking Sport. And as you can see, there is only two of us here this week. Now, Ness has had a bit of a rough day. So when you ought to pause this video and go follow Ness on social media and say one really nice thing about her because she's had a rough day, all right? All of you go on, do it now. And welcome back. Thank you for that. Bo is not here with us this week. He's taking a mental health day, which we all need from time to time. But at the moment, it's just two of us. Ness, I know you've had a rough day, but how are you feeling now?
Thanks, Biggs. My day always gets better when I get to jump on the podcast and see your lovely face. See, I don't think my work colleagues think I'm kind after my meltdown at work today, but look, we all have rough days, and that's absolutely okay. Generally I come home, have a wine, and I'm over it, so I'll be fine. How was your day though?
I got a few guys off with COVID at the moment. COVID is back in Canberra, as it is all over the country. So we're struggling a bit, but there's only so much you can do in a day. So that's what you can do. And I've come home to drinking the Heaps Normal, the local Canberra and alcohol-free beers. They're actually good. I went out for dinner in Narrabundah to XO on Saturday night. It was very nice and very expensive, but it was a lovely, lovely meal out there. So if you get a chance, go out to XO at Narrabundah.
Yeah, lovely. Good to hear your recommendation on it. So
yeah, look, I think I've been to nicer spots, but I think the service was unreal. The food was really nice, but I think maybe a key bar, the food was a lot nicer. You don't pay as much, but I think the service there was very good. So, yeah.
For all of our interstate listeners, we've got some good food recommendations when you visit.
Sure do. Let's start with the biggest topic of the week, the men's Wimbledon final. Our boy Kyrgios got through the semi-final against Rafa in a walkover because Rafa's done a rib muscle injury. So there was no semi-final for Rafa. I was hoping Djokovic would go like 7 hours in his semi, but he got through that easily. And then he got across the line and took the title away from Nick's hands in a 3-1 set defeat. Kyrgios won the first set nicely, I think. Yeah. And then he kind of fell apart a bit towards the end. I like the way he's come out afterwards and said this is the furthest he's ever got. And I didn't personally see the match because it's too late. I'm an old man nowadays. Did you catch any of it?
I am going to talk a little bit more about this game in our later segment. I didn't catch a lot of it. I did catch about 30 seconds, which, again, my later segment will discuss more. But I didn't really watch it for, various reasons. But I didn't really watch it because the Formula One was on at the same time. And we all know what I would prefer to watch.
Exactly. So, but the men did go on to win the doubles title, Ebden and Purcell. It was our first doubles title, which I'm surprised at in 20 years when the Woodies won the title. Now, the Woodies were winning everything. They were winning all 4 titles every year for like 10 years straight. These guys are on fire. But Purcell and Ebden got through for us. They're up against, this is only the second final they've been in the Grand Slams. They're up against Kyrgios and Kokkinakis in the Australian Open a couple of years back, and they went down in that one as well. So this is the first major doubles title, and they were just so well spoken after the match, and just two really nice Aussies that I think everyone should be getting across. It was good to see.
Couldn't agree more. They and I did watch a little bit of their game. They played really well as well. So credit to them. Really good to bring home that trophy to the Australian cabinet. It's really good.
There were some huge NRL games over the weekend. If you missed it, my Sharkies, they got up and have a massive win over the Storm on Thursday night to start off round 17, 28-6. I knew from earlier in the day, I thought we had this. I thought we've got the Storm here. A few guys out with Origin, a few of our guys out for Origin too, but we just wiped the park with them. And we've got a big month coming up. We play all 3 teams ahead of us in the next 3 weeks. So to get that win over the Storm was fantastic. The Rabbitohs beat Rose Knights 40-28. Parramatta got a lucky escape win over the Tigers 28-20, and the Broncos trashed the Dragons 32-18. Most of the bigger teams had the weekend off, with Origin, of course, on tomorrow night. Ness, it was nice to see your Roosters get 2 points, even though they didn't go on the park.
At the moment, we'll take the 2 points because it's actually guaranteed. So yeah, we'll take that. And yeah, look, we talked about it a bit last week, but whether they climb into that 8, I'm not sure at this point. So yeah, well done to you Sharkies though. I did catch a bit of the game, very impressive. And the Knights were actually leading for a little bit of that game until South sort of pulled a rabbit out of a hat. There we go. That's the story of the day.
You got it. You got it. Oh, very nice. Now, Origin is on tomorrow night, so most of you should watch the show tomorrow morning. So, Ness, we need a prediction. We need a final score, and we need a first try scorer. And just for that, I'm going to go first to give you a bit more time to think about it. I think New South Wales win this game and win it, not comfortably, but I think it'll be tight for most of the game, and then New South Wales will scream ahead towards the end. I'm going to call it 24-16.
Ooh.
And the first try scorer is going to go to a man who never stays on his feet in Tedesco. Tedesco is going to score the first try. 24-16, New South Wales. You heard it here first.
Cool. I hope you're right because I love everything about that prediction of yours.
I thought you would, yes.
Yeah. I think Bo would probably agree with me. I do think it will be challenging for New South Wales at Suncorp, but I actually think Queensland will get the win despite being a little bit COVID impacted this week. Certainly Munster out being a really big thing for them. I think we're going to see a 24-8 victory to Queensland, but I think that Nathan Cleary will be the first try scorer.
Oh, nice. Now, for those of you who don't know, I lived up there for about 5 or 6 years, and the first 4, probably 8 Origins I went to were at Suncorp Stadium. You get off the train, you have to walk down Caxton Street in my New South Wales jersey, and I work construction, and I've been called some names. Most of them are legit. I get why you're saying that, but some of these things I was hurled abuse at when I was walking down Caxton Street, all because of the shirt I was wearing. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. The passion, the hatred they have for it. And I never saw us win an Origin at Suncorp at all. And I've never been so happy to walk out of a stadium having lost a game, knowing I wasn't going to get my head stomped in as I walked back up that street. It was fantastic.
Similar, actually. I watched the Brumbies and the Reds in the Australia Super Rugby AU comp a few years back, the COVID sort of version of that competition. And similar thing, walking down Caxton Street in a Brumbies jersey is not the greatest thing that you should do. 60,000 Reds fans and there's like 7 Brumbies fans. So that was a bit scary. And I was actually kind of happy we lost because I was a little bit concerned for safety as well. But everyone was actually really lovely post-game because they were just really drunk. So
I found the same thing. After the game, they're fantastic. But I think it would have been a different story had we have won.
Yeah, agreed.
Very good. Look, speaking about rugby, the Aussies have gone down to the English on Saturday night up there in Brisbane. First of all, I want to touch on the fact that they sung the anthem in the native tongue up there. I'm sure the guys trained for a long time to actually learn this anthem too. I can't remember the actual name of the people up there, but it's the Tweed River Gold Coast area. And it was just a wonderful thing to see. A nice way to end NAIDOC week, of course, on Saturday night. And it was just a beautiful thing. The Wallabies jersey, the Indigenous jersey, was fantastic. And I've been told during the week this jersey has outsold the original jersey they have. So it was very nice to see. Look, the game didn't go the way we wanted it to. I think there's a lot of interpretation of the rules in rugby, and each referee interprets the rules differently. One of the Aussies was sent off for trying to take an intercept pass, and he's dropped the football, and that is called a deliberate knock-on. So he's been sent off for that, even though if he had caught it, he would have scored, and they would have probably won the game. But the interpretation of the rules by each individual referee is trying to stifle the game. Like, there are so many times when the clock keeps going, but the referee's explaining it, and the scrums and there's penalties, and there's there might have only been 65 odd minutes of actual sport during that 80-minute game, because it just keeps on going. And I think rugby needs to have a real hard look at itself about the way each individual interprets the rules, instead of there being one rule for just all of it. Because I've sat here on the show and bagged rugby for a very long time, but it was actually starting to look like an actual decent sport. And now they've sort of gone back into this hole again of not really sure what's going on the field. So maybe they all need to come together and work out the way this is going to go forward, instead of them losing fans. Bad.
I think it's a really big contributing factor to why the sport is going down south a little bit. I think you're right, Spinks. What we've seen, to your point about just really long games, we see in league that at the 80-minute mark, the whistle blows and that is game over. You see in every other sport, the final whistle is the final whistle. With union, it can go on, and the Brumbies have won a couple of, it's gone in their favour locally here, where they've played for 90 or, there was one game that nearly went for 100 minutes. It just absolutely incredible scenes. But yeah, I think the interpretations around the rules as well, I think they do need to come together as a sport. It is losing, fan and appeal, and it is stifling those games, which are really exciting and interesting. I think it's really important, and I like how the referees do interact with the players to explain, but I think that there's a lot of time spent because each of those referees and officials have a different interpretation. So the players themselves don't actually know, and that's where the lengthiness is. They're getting caught up in that. So yeah, it's a shame because, it was a really interesting game one, and yet this one, and I only caught the highlights. I didn't actually watch all of it, but you point to, the Aussie player who got sent off for trying to intercept, that should not be a send off. That's not a deliberate knock on. Yeah. And, in anticipation of intercepting to score a try, and as you said, potentially win the game. So really interesting. I think rugby's got a bit of work to do, and I think on that particular point is why they're not winning fans, and rather they're losing them.
Exactly. It's a difficult situation. So hopefully they can come together. But we do have a 1-1 series now. We've got a decider in Sydney on Saturday night. So be sure to tune in. I think it's 7:30 from the SFS if you're not watching anything else, which you shouldn't be at all. So make sure you watch that game. Now, I believe there was a car race over the weekend. Was there a Formula One race, Ness, in Austria?
Oh, there was.
There was. Did your boy go back to back?
No, he caught on fire instead. So he went literally up in flames. And we'll talk through it. So Ferrari back on the podium in P1, but this time it was Charles Leclerc who got a victory, which was awesome, overtook Verstappen a number of times, and Verstappen had some car issues. But Carlos was doing really well and actually in a position to overtake Verstappen, so it would have been a Ferrari 1-2, but he had a power unit failure and a really scary situation. And there's been a lot of funny things to come out of social media, but actually today, I think when all the seriousness kicked in, he was literally stuck in the car trying to get out. Where he kind of went around the corner that he went up, the power unit caught on fire or exploded, and the car caught on fire, but it was rolling down the hill and he was struggling to get out. Now, he couldn't obviously let it roll out. He couldn't try and get out. It was really quite scary. The marshals took a little bit of time to get to him. And one of the marshals, and I credit to the marshals who put themselves at risk as well, and not just the drivers putting themselves at risk, but they have a massive safety job to do. One of them was seen walking over to the car and then leaving the car, but he was actually going apparently to get a chock to put under the wheel, yes, so it would not roll down. And then one was actually going to get a fire engine. So they copped a bit of criticism. It was pretty scary, but it was touch and go about him actually getting out of the car. So thankfully he did get out safely, which is good. Verstappen, he took second place, and Lewis Hamilton got his third consecutive podium. So it seems like the undrivable car that Mercedes keep yapping about is actually not undrivable at all. And they're starting to get some decent points in the championship. Good to see Daniel Ricciardo back in the points too. He finished in 9th, but still behind Lando Norris in 7th. So that was the Austrian Grand Prix. lots of criticism about fan behaviour and some of the ugly scenes that we saw statements from the FIA, and we saw statements from some of the drivers as well, and about just how ugly some of the comments were towards other fans and drivers and that sort of thing. We're off to the French GP next week. Oh, no, sorry, in 2 weeks' time. And then there's a month break for their summer break. I don't know what I'm going to do in that 4-week period with no netball, no F1. I'm going to go a little bit crazy. So,
well, our netball is back next weekend, so you can be there with your team coaching from the sidelines, I'm sure. Very good. Yeah. Very nice. All right. Is Lewis Hamilton thereabouts? Can he get back in that top 3? Is he done? How we look at it? Is there enough races in the year for Lewis to sort of hit that form and come back?
He's not too far, and I would have to exactly check the points, but they're there and thereabouts. If he keeps winning races, and if just a few little errors from the Ferrari drivers and from the Red Bull drivers, certainly Perez not being in the points this week helped Ferrari, but also helped Mercedes. So if George Russell and Lewis Hamilton keep pushing, there's enough time in the back end of the season to climb that ladder. So don't look away now, folks. I think we're in for a bit of a hot race towards the end of the year.
Very nice. Right now it's time for the good, bad, and ugly. Now, Mr. Bo Kennett is not here this week, so he gets the award for the good this week, mate. Rest up, take care of yourself, buddy. We'll see you back here next week. Now, the bad is me. Now, my bad and your ugly are kind of similar things. My bad is about Wimbledon as a whole. When did Wimbledon become the whitest man sport you've ever seen? Like, it is 2022 and you can't wear a pair of red shoes. Oh. Not even that. Or they whinge every year. There's someone who doesn't wear the right sports bra or tank top, or everything's got to be white. I've been there. I've seen it. I was there in I think it was 2007, 2008. I was there for the opening day. I sat on centre court. The chocolates with the champagne, the Pims, the strawberries, all that stuff is amazing. But it's 2022. You guys need to start coming to the party. I understand back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, this is what you did, but this is not the world that we live in now. You don't have to wear all white. I know it's a special thing over there in England, but this is not the world that we live in. If he wants to wear red shoes, so be it. If a girl wears a top that's not covering her shoulders, like, we can't be imposing these laws. They banned all the Russians. It's not their fault they were born in Russia. They're not fighting against the Ukrainians at the moment. It's not their fault. Why do they get banned from it? And they've been banned from nothing else, not the US Open, the Aussie Open, nothing else. Why does Wimbledon have to be the whitest man sport there is? I just don't understand it. Change needs to happen. Otherwise, stars are going to start not turning up. And that's going to be worse on them. They've already lost their points system from the ATP and the WTA for this season, and might happen again next year. Yeah, but something needs to happen, surely. I never really realized how bad it actually was, but it's like, it's a real white man's thing, isn't it?
It is. This is a really hard thing for me to comment on, because my whole ugly is a rebuttal to your bad. So
right. Well then, fine. That's my bad. And what's your ugly, Ness? What do you got for us?
Well, at the risk of being completely removed from this podcast, because I know that yourself and Bo, and I'm kind of glad there's only one of you to fight with today, you can, extradite me from the ACT and Australia for this comment. And I will say, before I launch into my second rant of the day, that there is no question about Nick Kyrgios' ability, his skill. He is a talented sports person. He does an enormous amount of charity work, and he has his foundation, which is really successful. And certainly from those that know him, say he is a really decent dude. I'm not in any way, saying that he's certainly battled some mental health issues, and that is really important and something that I feel really strongly about. But he, at the moment, and particularly as you make it into a Wimbledon final, he represents not only the ACT, but he represents Australia. And Wimbledon may be a, you know, white man's sport, but I think it is a certainly a competition built on history and tradition and respect. And a little bit like we were all really anti-Djokovic not being vaccinated to participate. The rule says you can't wear red hats and red shoes. And so if you don't want to comply with that and you think that you are above that, then it's time to get off the ship. Like, it's simple as that for me. He was asked by the media post one of his games why he had to wear his red hat and red shoes. And his comment, which, like, not even the fact that he did it, but it was the disrespect that he showed everyone in response, was, I do what I want. And they categorically said, well, do you think you're above the rules? And he was like, I just do what I want. And that's just not it. Like, if we have a situation where sports people think they are above the rules and want to bend them and shape them, then we may as well not bother, because there are rules in place for a reason. And I think he just deliberately does it. And I'm not saying you can't be individual. I'm not saying you can't have your opinion, your freedom. You know, we see Lewis Hamilton all the time. We see this, you know, Serena and Venus Williams have, you know, they've pushed the boundaries on what they can wear, and they've all got their causes that they support. And they use their power and influence to do that. But there are just some rules. It's like I mentioned with Novak, like it was get vaccinated, mate, or get the hell out. And I think the same is for Kyrgios. I just think that the way that he portrays himself, it overshines all of the good work that he does do, that we know he does. And he actually was quite gracious in defeat, which I was surprised about.
Yeah.
But let's remember here, like, you kind of got yourself into a final that you didn't really deserve to be in. Maybe act with a little bit of humility about it. And I just don't think he does that. He doesn't do it well. He's losing fans. The day before a Wimbledon final, he's picking a fight with the rest of Australia about how he's not supported, how he's not supported by the rest of the tennis family. You saw the power of when you're a decent person, and say what you will about Ash Barty, but the tennis community love her. Behind the scenes, we don't know what she's like, but everyone the day before her Wimbledon final was on the Ash Barty train, and they were loving her sick. And they weren't the same for Kyrgios. And to the point, I will watch any sport, like anything. I will watch anything. And I did not want to watch that game because I don't like Djokovic and I don't really like Nick Kyrgios. And I hate saying that as an Australian, but I just think no one is above things. And the minute we start to give these people more freedom, then I just don't see what the point of it is. Like, sports people are not above the rules and they're not above the laws, and they get away with a lot. And we talked a lot through COVID about what they were getting away with and what they were allowed to do. And I just think, yeah, respect, and, you know, I think respect for things like Wimbledon should be upheld. And but I do agree. There are certain things in terms of the dress code that we probably need to look at and address. But if the policy is all white, then it's all white.
Yeah.
And if next year it's all blue and everyone needs to wear blue, then they need to get on board with that. And, you know, they've chosen to be there. If you don't want to do that, then go play basketball, which is what he wants to do anyway, because he's a gun basketballer.
Yeah.
That's sorry, that was, I'll take a breath.
It's very hard to argue with what you're saying, because I agree with you. He shouldn't have turned up in the red shoes. Like, that was dumb.
After, like, you've got 364 other days to wear your red shoes. Like, just do the right thing. And these are the reasons why people turn against him. Yeah. Like, I'm not saying you need to be a Pat Rafter who, you know, everyone loved and adored. You could be yourself. Like, we're in a society, and we're in 2022, as you said, where you can be yourself.
Yeah.
He goes too far.
Yeah, I found that too. And as you said, he was a little bit more humbler in defeat than we expected.
Yeah.
To come out, but as you said, the day before, he was ratting on every Australian that ever existed. No one likes me, everyone hates me, probably because you act like a fuckwit. Like, that's why.
And maybe that spurs him on, right? Like, he's a little bit left of centre, and maybe see that he likes that underdog theme, and he likes to come out and surprise. And if that's your tactic, cool. But then don't get upset and cranky that the community and, you know, the nation isn't backing you and isn't behind you, because, you know, the way that you're representing us, like, as an Australian, I'm disappointed when I see him. And we talk about, did I watch the match? I literally saw 30 seconds. After the Formula One, I turned on the tennis and he was absolutely going off at the umpire about the chick who apparently had 700 beers. And comment about, I've been out a few times and I know what drinking 700 beers is like. That just
so
could have been a
good.
simple conversation of, yo, umpire, this chick is retarded and we need to get her out. And she's really annoying for all of us.
Yeah.
And move her. But he went for the whole 30 seconds that I watched it. He just went on his rant. Like, it just didn't need to. And as a result, he won the first set and then he lost the plot because he gets so angry and so fired up that he can't perform. That's my view on it. And I'm happy to be correct. I'm not a tennis.
Isn't Wimbledon the last of the 4 majors? Or is it still to come? We definitely had the Aussie and the French. And have we had the US? Do we have? Yes. So that's it.
Final.
That's it. So look, hopefully he comes back bigger and better next year. Look, he's certainly better on the tennis court than he has been the last couple of seasons. So maybe it's a big tilt towards the Australian Open in January. And we all need that because at the moment it is freezing down here. So some warmer weather would be lovely.
Would be good.
Very nice. Now, coming up this week, there is a massive weekend of sport. The Aussies are up against the Wallabies. Sorry, the Wallabies are up against the English in the rugby. It is 1-1. The third game is from Sydney on Saturday night at 7:30. The NRL is back. There's a massive weekend. Every team is back now. It's running through to the finals. I think there's 8 or 9 weeks left. The pick of the games, the Cowboys and the Sharks on Friday night, 6 p.m. Check that one out. The Roosters have got the Dragons on Saturday. Be sure to check out the Dragons beating the Roosters, their arch rival. The Knights will go down to Manly, of course, on Saturday, and the Raiders are playing the Storm. So, next, all of your teams are going to get beaten. That's good.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Very right,
actually.
Yeah. The AFL is still on. There is plenty of action. There's no Formula One this weekend, of course. There's no netball. It is the last weekend of the school holiday, so enjoy the time with your children out there. And everything else is back the week after. We start having netball back again, and my daughter's doing aerials, and my son's doing table tennis, and my daughter's just walked in looking like the yellow wiggle for some reason. What is going on there? Sorry.
On the AFL, there is a game at Manuka Oval this week, and you should check out the Giants and the Lions on Saturday afternoon.
Very good. Are you working?
I will be there.
If you get down there on Saturday afternoon, make sure you say hi to Ness too. You give her a high five. Very nice.
Yeah. Not talk about it, otherwise she'll be really polite and friendly.
And the Roosters are on at 3:00 that afternoon, so make sure you give her score updates on the Roosters today. Nice. All right, guys. Next week we'll be back with all 3 of us. We'll see you next week. Hooroo.